joining us this time to talk about your work in Usborne and as authors. So I would like to start talking about how memorable the books you make for children can become. And because usually when we grow older, we remember fondly the books we read as children. So what draw you to become authors and children's authors and to create these universes for them? If you want, we can start with Alex and then Sam.
Well, for me, I'm the same. So I still remember very fondly the books I read as a child, and although I read storybooks more than any other kind, and particularly comic books, I did really love a series of Usborne books that had puzzles in them. So that they did a series of puzzle adventure stories, and some just that had sort of really elaborate mazes. And I absolutely loved these because there was something about the way that they used pictures and words together so well. And then when I took this job, as I think Sam did, and most of us Usborne authors, by answering an advert in a newspaper that said, "Would you like to be an Usborne author?" And of course, the answer is yes. And having survived the interview process now, I think, yeah, the books that I make, I want every one of them to have the chance to find a child who was like me when I was 7 or 8 or 9, to think, yes, this is the book that I will always remember.
Wow.
Yes, by the time Alex and I got involved, Usborne was already a very established part of certainly UK culture, and increasingly in other countries too. And so it was a part of both our childhoods, and the chance to become part of that is an amazing thing. And as you said, Yara, those books that you're close to when you're growing up leave an indelible impression. I mean, I would think of some of the Roald Dahl stories, or when I was even younger, Maurice Sendak or The Very Hungry Caterpillar, these sorts of books. And the idea that now we get to make books which may fulfill that role in the lives of children growing up today, it's quite an incredible thought, really. It's very inspiring for us.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a big privilege and
it's a privilege,
and a big responsibility. No?
Yes, both of those things.
Yes, yeah.
And I imagine, I don't know if Peter Usborne interviewed you and saw you. How do you have the spark to? Do you see the world as a child?
He didn't interview. He didn't interview me directly, and I imagine the same for Alex. But he was a huge. No, he was a huge presence. And something Peter had was an incredible combination of real business acumen. He was razor sharp right to the end of his life, but he never lost also a sense of incredible childlike joy. You know, we can probably all remember in meetings picking up books and kissing them and getting so enthusiastic. Yeah. You know, that and combination.
He did. Yeah, he read. I don't know at the end if he read every single book, but he did seem to read every single book, and he would certainly come and tell us individually if he either thought it was brilliant or if he thought it was terrible, and he'd tell you both ways. And usually the times he said it was terrible, it was because there was one fact in the book that he didn't agree with, and sometimes he was correct and it was shameful, and sometimes he was wrong and he just had to shrug. But it was very, you know, he definitely came across as a child who just read something and wanted to tell everyone about what he'd just read. So.
And in a sense, wanting to tell everyone about what he just read, or wanting to tell everyone things, that's what Usborne was about, you know, and that's why he created it, and you know, and sustained it with such passion for so many years. He once rang me after we'd published a book for older children, a book called Shadow Chaser, which is one of those books where you play the hero of the story, and it's got puzzles in it to solve. And he phoned me after we got the advance copy and asked me about the first puzzle in the book and how it worked. So I explained that. And I thought that would be the end of the phone call. But then he asked me about every other puzzle. There's about 15 of them, because he wanted to know I actually knew my stuff and that the book worked properly. And was, you know, he was a very, very exacting person, but an incredible inspiration as well.
Wow, what an amazing! Because I mean, either way, the the roads of your life, whatever they lead you, you have an amazing wisdom transferred to you, and you will be able to transfer that to others.
We hope so. There are things that Peter used to say that have become things that we often repeat within the company. Some of his mantras, you know, he would say things in meetings, things like, if you haven't got a title, you haven't got a book, you know. So we might have an idea that we like very much, but if you can't think of a strong title to hang it around, you know, a concept to really transmit to the reader in a single phrase what that is, then you haven't got anything. You know? So just things like that, little nuggets of wisdom that are very much still with us. Yeah.
No, and it's true, because books, I mean, children's books need a lot of work. It's not just that idea, it's just that how many departments you need to work with, and you're working with a global imaginary that already the children may have processed in their DNA, we don't know. But
yeah.
What virtues do you think a good book, a children's book may have? What do you need? What virtues do you need, and what virtues may the book have in order to be successful?
Want to start, Alex?
Okay, so I mean, it's part of our sort of Usborne brand is all about curiosity. So it helps certainly to sort of approach every new book thinking, I don't know this topic, I want to find out more about it. And I should say that the books that I work on are nearly all kind of information fact books where we want to kind of explain something about the world or, you know, space. So the first thing I think is to be kind of excited about wanting to find out more for myself about whatever it is the book is about. And then I think the second thing is the virtue is to basically to do enough work to make sure that I understand what I'm talking about. So when I write about it or try and explain it, I can feel confident that the person at the other end is understanding what I'm saying. So you know, you have to, I think for a children's writer, you have to be really curious so that you're as excited as the child is reading it, but you also have to be kind of hardworking enough to, you know, not just write the first answer that you find, but to really make sure that it's true.
So a lot of the books I work on nowadays are for very young children, really birth plus, you know. And I would say one thing that's very important there is to be able to get in touch with your inner 2-year-old, you know, to somehow have an instinct for what is it that might make a very small child light up with delight or with humor, or what might be magical or interesting or engaging. And I think people often ask us, do you have a focus group? Do you test your ideas out on small children? And although, you know, there are times when we might consider that, basically the answer is no. And it's more about developing your own intuition about what is going to work. You know, you usually get butterflies in the stomach, and you think, this is it. You know, the idea kind of slots into place in some way.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, it's a lot of hard work, because you have like to compartmentalize. How do you say? To
compartmentalize. Yeah.
Thank you. Your emotions and your mindsets in a way, because you have like to protect, like in a little egg, no, that moment, that beautiful moment that you feel when you open up a children's book, any age, whatever, in any time.
I think that's right. I think it's everyone would agree that a storybook, say, for older children, should be an adventure that you can go on, you know, as a reader. But I think that is true of a book for a 6-month-old child as well. It should still be a world you can explore, and full of surprises and delight, and just to let a very small child get the idea that opening a book can be entering a world and can be something thrilling and unforgettable. I think that's something really worth trying to do. You know?
Wow. It's really amazing. I mean, congratulations, because it's a lot of hard work. So, can you tell us a little bit the process of when you start a new book, engaging in a new book? How do you start? When, as you said, obviously, probably you start by the title and the concept, but how many weeks or months do you have to prepare, and show us through an example?
Do you want to go, Alex?
Okay. I mean, most of my books take about a year to create, but it's not a whole year of solid work on any one thing. Some of that is waiting for artwork to come in and looking at it. But I think the starting point for me is often thinking about what it will look like. So pretty much everything that we do at Usborne, the pages have a mixture of pictures and words. And like Sam was saying, you kind of want to have like the feeling from a reader that this book is giving them a new world to explore and will show them something surprising. And particularly with facts, we always want to try and, when we find out something that we didn't know before ourselves, my first instinct is just to tell the person I sit next to at work, and then hopefully they'll be excited too. And then we think, right, that's something to put in a book. And then you have to think, well, what's a way to present that information so that even as a child opening the page, even if they're, you know, maybe not such a confident reader, just the way it looks kind of makes them want to learn how to read, to know what it's saying. So we sometimes do just write almost like, you know, even like a 64-page book, which is quite a lot for us. We draw lots of little tiny squares on a piece of paper and draw very small sketches to think, okay, so here there'll be like a dinosaur filling up the whole space, and then here there's like a castle, or we'll be walking up a mountain slowly, or this kind of thing, just to sort of think what's exciting. And then the next bit is doing the research to find out what actually is this topic about and what can we learn. And I don't know if it's completely different for Sam when you're channeling your inner 2-year-old, if you're thinking what's the, you know, the most unusual noise that I can produce on this page.
I think there's lots of overlap, and there are lots of similarities. Maybe the one difference would be that the books for younger children, the starting point can be all kinds of different things. It might be that there is a new novelty technique that we've come across, and we think that's exciting, and so that might spark something off, and you might start to wonder what you could use that for. It might be that we've seen an illustrator that we think is a particularly beautiful style, or humorous in an interesting way, and so that might set you off. Often it's just a phrase or an idea. We have this series of books for very young children. They're called Don't Tickle. It's like it has a touchy-feely patch, and when you touch the patch, it activates a sound. And I still remember the moment standing in our director of publishing's office when we were talking about this phrase, this idea of having a negative title, like don't do this.
Yeah.
And then we had also been playing around with that technology, with the tactile patch and the sound. And we said, well, imagine if the book was called Don't Tickle the Tiger, and then you do tickle the tiger and it roars at you. And immediately that was an exciting feeling, and you could sense that you had something. And so although there was a great deal of work to get from there to the series that exists now, in a sense that was the moment that kind of created the whole thing, you know. So those are the moments you're looking for, I think, with the young stuff.
And you have to get out of a box all the time. No, it's like a bigger box, a bigger box, a bigger box.
Yeah, each book, and I think this is true of books for any age. Each book comes with its own particular needs. You know, it's sort of reinventing the thing each time. You must never think, okay, now we know how to do this, and so let's just make another one of those. That's not how to do it.
Exactly. That moment is the worst for any publishing house, no?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Any producer, any kind of creator, I guess it's the moment that you cut yourself off, no?
That's right. I agree totally. Yeah.
I remember I saw one of these books called The Sounds Out of My Butt or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, I'm still a 2-year-old, so I laughed like 2 hours.
No, I think we all need a bit of innocent fun, especially in the sort of dark times we find ourselves in. And I think, yeah, we had a great deal of fun making that book, I can tell you. Yeah.
Imagine your meeting. No, that sound is off. No, the monkey will the part of.
I mean, you laugh, but those are literally the conversations that we had. Long debates, you know, about exactly how it should sound. It's funny. Sometimes we do our sound books with an audio producer, who is an expert in this. So every sound in an Usborne book is crafted according to a brief that we will supply. And we'll have lots of back and forth. We might go through 10 versions of a sound in order to get it exactly right. And you find yourself having these surreal conversations, like saying, I've recently said to, it's called Anthony, on the phone, do you think this dragon is sounding a bit too mournful? You know, and then you think, we're getting paid to have this conversation.
But I think, and that's also something that you might put in the conversation, in the debate, that the sounds that I heard are not like so annoying. Like, you know, that the sound's gonna be repeated 1,000 times for the parents or the caretakers. No, so good job.
That's certainly good to hear. We do our best. We really do. I mean, I think it's you never want any. Just as we take as much care with the sounds in our sound books as we would with the illustrations or the words. I mean, it's very, very important, and we try to bear in mind the fact that parents are going to be hearing them, as you say.
Yeah, I could see that, and also I would like also to tell our audiences that all the books are crafted in-house. That's not common for the publishing world.
Yes. Alex, yes, probably tell us something about
that. Well, I know that the normal model for getting a book published as an author is to have an idea, work at it for a long time, maybe find an agent, and then try and attract a publisher with a nearly finished book. Whereas we have the other way around, so that we decide ourselves what book we want to make, and then you kind of have a team to put it together from scratch. And it's a different process, and it allows us to actually sometimes work quite hard on a book and then decide that it's not working and just stop. And if you're an author on your own, that would be terrifying, but it's a nice bit of freedom that we have to play around, really.
Yeah.
It also means we have an incredible autonomy, a level of control over what we produce. I mean, before the book goes near an illustrator, so the illustrators are freelance, out-of-house illustrators, mainly. But before it will go near the illustrator, it's very meticulously designed. You know, we know where each bit of text is going to sit. We've thought about the reading order on the page. Everything is integrated and worked on. So it means it gives us the chance to work in that way, which, as you say, is quite rare.
No, it is rare, and you can see the quality. I mean, obviously, it stands out. You understand. It's like your mind knows where to go. It's like there's a balance. No, it's like,
well, that's great to hear.
From a 43-year-old reader. No, but I have shared some of your books. I bought some of the books for children's, and they keep telling me, bring me more, like I need more. And that's when I started seeing, like, I haven't had this response from, I mean, just like maybe Oliver Jeffers, Roald Dahl, just like little, not much. So again, yay.
Hooray.
So, if you could tell us in 3 words, how is it to work in Usborne?
3 words, Alex. Shall I throw
it's friendly, it's creative, and challenging, I think. I mean, like, as in, we always push each other to do better, I guess.
Yeah, I like Alex for 3 words. What can I add? I guess one word that springs to mind is privilege. We spoke about this before, but it is really more and more, I think, for me, an extraordinary thing to get to spend your working day doing. We are obviously just focused on what the next book is and thinking about how to make them as good as possible. But occasionally, when you see some sales figures or a little video clip of a child enjoying one of your books or something like that, you stop and think about the number of children around the world who are getting pleasure and getting knowledge from what we do, and that is an amazing thing. So that would be 1 word. 2 more words. I don't know. Different, I suppose. Always different. New challenges, new excitements. Always moving, trying to innovate. Well, that's 2 words. Maybe that will do.
No,
Yeah,
it's okay.
we always use 2 words instead of 3 if we ever can.
There we are. Precise.
Well, is there anything you would like to add for the new readers and the young ones and whoever comes across this interview?
I mean, we glad to hear that it seems so many people do love to read Usborne books, but also just to read any books. And I don't know what readers want to hear from us, but one thing that I love being able to tell school children when I go into schools is they say, I want to be a writer. And the answer I can give to them is, well, you can be a writer right now. You don't have to have any skill or any qualification. If you like the idea of making a book, you can be an illustrator or a designer or an author yourself. And you just have to try it and see what happens. And
That's
it's really making books is one of the easiest things to tell someone to do.
Well, it's really good. It's like Spielberg, like remember he started making movies when he was really young and see where he went. Because the encouragement is really important.
Yeah.
And you, Sam?
Well, I suppose I'm just building on what Alex said. I guess that even if people don't want to be writers, I like the idea that they might find within one Usborne book or another the seeds of what might become their passion later in life. Because it's been 50 years now, there are quite a few people who do tell us, the reason I became a scientist or the reason I ended up pursuing this career is because I read an Usborne book. And what a thing that is. So, that too is a very inspirational thought for us.
Yeah, you carrying that, it's really amazing. How
the reasons why it's nice to occasionally talking about it in this kind of way is that we don't spend most of our time thinking like this. Obviously we're just thinking about the details of what we're working on and trying to make the books as good as possible. But it's nice to have a chance to chat about it.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting us on.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
You're welcome. My pleasure. And yeah, I kept thinking, of course, because I make a magazine to promote to give the spotlight to the authors and the illustrators and everything. I'm kind of always thinking how you guys are never off work, because you're maybe in the supermarket thinking, this is a nice color and this and that.
That's right. That's certainly true.
That is right.
I'm sure it's true for both Alex and me in slightly different ways, but that is really true. But there's always it's surprising where the inspiration can come from. It might be a phrase, it might be an image, or who knows. But it's all feeding in there.
That's amazing. I'm really grateful for this time, for your work, and for all the team and for all the Usborne. Thank you so much. And
you're welcome.
Well, thank you,
Yes.
and thank you everyone in Mexico for enjoying what we do. It means a lot to us.
Thank you so much.